See, in terms of the first challenge, perhaps, which is there for some of the companies which we look at in the region, is that the coal fleet, typically in Asia Pac, is still very young. Even if you look at only the ASEAN part of it, the 90 gigawatt odd coal-based capacity, the average life of that is less than 12 years. So, and if you look at individual countries, perhaps even Vietnam, the average age would be less than 8 years. So there is a huge amount of useful life left of these assets. And along with that, the countries are also balancing their energy security and energy affordability and the transition goals. So there are multiple things which are happening together. And there will be a balancing act, which most of the companies and the countries are doing to manage that risk. So I think that's the key challenge which we see for some of the companies which we look at. The second would obviously be for transition you need a long-term cheap access of capital. And that remains a challenge for countries, for the companies in the region. The rise in interest cost or the cost of funding, which we have seen over the last 12 to 24 months, have added to that risk. But I'll acknowledge that it's cyclical in nature, and but in the near term, that's also a risk. Then, in terms of attracting foreign capital to the region. Some of the renewable energy projects now, perhaps in the developed economies, are equally attractive in terms of IRRs, given some of the policies which have come up in those economies. So that also becomes a competition in terms of attracting foreign capital to the region in emerging Asia, for example. So I think that's on the capital side of things, which is a challenge for the companies. I think Jade mentioned some of the credit enhancements, which are there for making the projects more attractive, or blended finance transactions. Moody's have rated number of these transactions over these years, and that included enhancements, including guarantees, political risk insurance, first loss debt. But most of these transactions were small in scale, and very bespoke. So it's very difficult to actually scale them up. And and in terms of the size of these transactions versus what's the funding gap is there for transition, I think there's a big gap which is there. And for bridging that gap, there are multi-pronged strategies required in terms of preparedness of the projects. The regulatory frameworks also need to be developed. Operating environment needs to be more supportive, and there should be some solution for the managing the currency risk as well.